Rabbi Tuli Wise, founder of Israel 365, great to be with you here in Jerusalem Dateline.
Thanks for having me, Chris.
There's a really huge debate here in Israel right now on judicial reform. Tell us what's happening.
So recently, Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu was reelected with a right-wing and religious support and put together a very conservative government that ran on the platform of judicial reform, because here you have a very unusual system. You have an unelected judiciary and you don't have a constitution. And so you have these judges who are interpreting the law based on how they feel and if it's reasonable or not reasonable. And there's a big disconnect between the very liberal judiciary and the more conservative Israeli population that wants judicial reform.
You wrote an article, Why Christians Should Care About the Judicial Reform Going On in Israel. What are your main points of that article?
So not only is judicial reform more democratic, making Israel more democratic and more like America, but it's also based on sound biblical principles of checks and balances. In the times of the Bible, there was a king, there was a priest, and there was a prophet. And the job of the prophet was to kind of rein in sometimes the king and the priest if necessary. There's also, as most Christians and Americans certainly, pray for the peace of Jerusalem. So everything that happens here is so important. When there's peace and harmony in Jerusalem, then the whole world benefits from it. And when there's discord and divisiveness in Jerusalem, then the whole world's going to suffer. And finally, it says in the Bible that Jerusalem will be redeemed with justice. We need to get it right here. We need to have a great judiciary in order for us to bring about the redemption that both Jews and Christians are looking for.
Mm-hmm. And how do you see this progressing now? We're at a lot of debate going on right now, and people are sort of at loggerheads. But where do you see this going on?
It will settle down. It will certainly settle down. Prime Minister Netanyahu is a strong prime minister, and as soon as the media hysterics kind of moves on to talk about something else, I think that it will settle down, and the Knesset will be able to finally get to work, and they'll be able to pass through the judicial reform here in Israel.
And finally, how can Christians be praying about the situation?
They need to learn more, stay educated, stay on top of the news that's happening here in Israel. We're also putting together a petition to encourage Prime Minister Netanyahu through our website, Israel365.com. We're looking to get 1 million people to show encouragement to Prime Minister Netanyahu to stay the course in terms of democracy and the eternal biblical values.
That's in opposition to the 100,000 people. You want 1 million people petition.
Exactly.
Yeah. Rabbi Tuli Wise, great to be with you here in Jerusalem Dateline.
Thanks for having me.